What if I told you that thousands of years ago, staying alive through a single winter night sometimes meant doing something we'd never dare speak of today? No fire, no walls, no blankets, just you, the freezing dark, and a body slowly losing its fight against the cold. So how did anyone survive that? What lines did they cross when survival demanded it? And why does the answer still feel uncomfortable even now? Let's go back, not centuries, thousands of years, long before agriculture, before permanent homes, before anything resembling comfort existed. Winters back then weren't just cold, they were lethal. Temperatures could drop far below anything modern humans regularly experience, and there was no guarantee food would last until spring. Here's the first strange truth. Some of the earliest survival strategies didn't involve building shelter from scratch. They involved using death itself as protection. Anthropological evidence suggests that in extreme Arctic regions, early humans sometimes used freshly killed animals as emergency insulation, not just the meat, the whole body. Warm hide, thick fat, dense fur, all of it became a barrier against wind that could kill in minutes. It sounds brutal, but when the alternative is freezing to death, brutal becomes practical. But here's where things get strange. Fat wasn't just protection, it was currency. It was survival technology. Rendered animal fat was burned in carved stone lamps, providing both heat and light through months when the sun barely rose. Researchers studying Ice Age sites in Europe have found these lamps preserved for tens of thousands of years, proof that fire wasn't just comfort, it was the difference between a functioning group and a dead one. Now ask yourself, what happens when the fat runs out? What happens when the meat is gone and winter still has months left? That's when the marrow came in. Bones weren't waste, they were emergency reserves. Early humans cracked them open for the fatty, calorie-dense marrow inside, one of the most efficient survival foods available before agriculture existed. Nothing was thrown away. Every organ, every bone, every scrap of fat had a purpose, because winter didn't forgive waste. But even with all of this, sometimes it wasn't enough. And this is where the story turns dark. Archaeological and anthropological research on historical famine periods reveals something deeply unsettling. During the most severe winters, when starvation became unavoidable, some communities faced decisions that modern minds recoil from, difficult choices about which members of the group could be fed and which could not. In the harshest, most desperate circumstances, this sometimes meant the survival of the group came before the survival of its weakest members.
This isn't a comfortable fact. It's not meant to be. But understanding it means understanding something crucial about human nature. Survival isn't always noble. Sometimes it's mathematical. Anthropologists studying hunter-gatherer survival patterns have long noted a chilling pattern. In resource-scarce environments, group survival often outweighed individual survival. It wasn't cruelty, it was arithmetic. A group with fewer mouths to feed had a higher chance of seeing spring. Then, scientists discovered something unexpected. Not every survival strategy was about sacrifice. Some were about brilliant adaptation. Take snow shelters. It sounds backwards, using the very thing trying to kill you as protection against itself. But snow, when packed correctly, traps body heat with remarkable efficiency. Early humans who understood this dug into snowbanks and earth, creating semi-underground shelters that blocked wind chill far better than any surface structure could. This wasn't luck. This was inherited knowledge, passed down through generations, refined by trial and devastating error. The groups who didn't figure this out simply didn't survive long enough to pass on their mistakes. That's when everything changed. Because fire wasn't just warmth. Fire was social glue. Groups who mastered fire, who could start it, maintain it, protect it through brutal storms, had a dramatic evolutionary advantage. Some researchers even argue that controlled fire use fundamentally shaped human brain development, allowing for cooked food, better nutrition, and more energy for cognitive growth. Think about that for a second. The very tool used to survive winter may have helped shape the human mind itself. But the real mystery is this: how much of what we call civilization today was actually born out of desperation? Every technology early humans developed, fire, insulated clothing, food preservation, shelter design, wasn't invented out of curiosity. It was invented because winter demanded it. Death was the teacher. Adaptation was the only acceptable answer. And here's something that should make you pause. The instincts developed during those brutal winters didn't disappear. They're still inside you. The urge to gather resources before scarcity hits, the anxiety around running out of food, the comfort you feel near warmth and light. These aren't random feelings. They're echoes of a survival system built over tens of thousands of years of freezing nights and desperate choices. So, when you're wrapped in a blanket, warm and safe, scrolling through a screen in a heated room, you're living inside the reward. The reward earned by ancestors who faced choices you'll never have to make. They burned fat for light. They cracked bones for marrow. They dug into snow for shelter. And in the darkest moments, they made decisions that challenge everything we believe about right and wrong. Not because they were cruel, but because winter didn't care about morality. It only cared about survival. And maybe that's the real question worth sitting with. Not how did they survive, but what would you have done if the cold outside was the least dangerous thing in the room?